One of the most despicable aspects of today's military-industrial complex is the outsourcing of armed forces, something the establishment quickly learned in the wake of the backlash of the Vietnam War. Nowadays, going to war doesn't even mean sending American military personnel, as long as you can contract killers for hire with zero allegiance to any country or constitution. And that's exactly what we've seen proliferate under the war on terror. Contractors from KBR to DynCorp are shipped to war zones and usually kept there long after the last U.S. troops, as evident by Iraq and Afghanistan today. But there's no other contractor firm more insanely corrupt and criminal than Blackwater. Oh, sorry, did I say Blackwater? I meant Z. Academy, actually. Yes, in a poor effort to distance itself from its sordid war crimes and black market deals, Blackwater has changed its name 3 times already. See, during the Iraqi occupation, Blackwater made headlines for its rampant unaccountability and murder sprees, whether it was guards indiscriminately firing on passing cars, animals, or human beings. You may remember during the height of the occupation in 2007, Blackwater guards straight up slaughtered 17 civilians in Nasr Square in Baghdad. The incident caused justifiable uproar on behalf of Iraqis, with its prime minister calling it, quote, deliberate murder, and feigned outrage on behalf of the U.S. government, which passed a bill subjecting contractors to U.S. courts because for some reason they weren't before. Now, after years of legal red tape and government mishaps over what had been coined the My Lai moment of Iraq, 3 contractors are currently in the midst of a trial over manslaughter charges. However, as New York Times journalist James Risen just broke, weeks before the Nasr tragedy, the State Department had already begun investigating the company's operations in Iraq. But according to Risen, the inquiry was abandoned after Blackwater's top manager there issued a threat that he could kill the government's chief investigator and no one could or would do anything about it, as we were in Iraq, according to department reports. Yes, you heard that right. Blackwater's top commander in Iraq said that he would simply kill anyone investigating his company. So after threatening the life of officials in the State Department, clearly this guy was promptly fired and put in jail, right? Not exactly. In fact, American embassy officials in Baghdad sided with Blackwater rather than the State Department as the review intensified. According to Risen, the officials told investigators that they had disrupted the embassy's relationship with the security contractor and ordered them to leave the country. No, Blackwater wasn't ordered to leave. The investigators were. Well, understandably, upon returning to Washington, the investigator named Gene Richter harshly rebuked Blackwater's conduct, claiming that they acted as if they were above the law. And I quote, the management structures in place to manage and monitor our contracts in Iraq have become subservient to the contractors themselves. Indeed, this reckless arrogance came to define Blackwater's presence in Iraq and relationship with the U.S. government. But at least after this overt threat, Blackwater had its contracts cut, right? Nope. Less than a year after the Nasr Square massacre, the State Department renewed Blackwater's contract to protect diplomats in Iraq for another year. And in fact, since 2007, the U.S. has handed this criminal enterprise at least $242 million in contracts, including $100 million from the CIA under Obama in 2010, and another with the DoD in May of this year. Now, if the unchecked hubris of this murder for hire force disgusts you, you might be even more shocked to learn that this wasn't the first time that Blackwater threatened the lives of people trying to undermine it. In fact, Jeremy Scahill, author of Blackwater, The Rise of the World's Most Powerful Mercenary Army, Blackwater founder Eric Prince might have actually ordered the execution of people in the past. According to 2 sworn affidavits by former Blackwater employees, the company not only regularly smuggled weapons into Iraq and destroyed evidence that could implicate itself, but in a sworn declaration, John Doe No. 2 alleges that it appears Mr. Prince and his employees murdered or had murdered 1 or more persons who have provided information or who are planning to provide information to the federal authorities about the ongoing criminal conduct. Doe No. 2 also alleges that, quote, on several occasions after my departure from Mr. Prince's employ, Mr. Prince's management has personally threatened me with death and violence. Gee, sounds just like the kind of company that you would want to be showering with hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts, doesn't it? But see, it makes more sense when you realize the disturbing plane of reality that Eric Prince finds himself living on. According to these employees, Prince considered himself a Christian crusader akin to the Knights of Templar, who truly believed that he was personally tasked by God to eliminate Muslims and the Islamic faith from the globe. But if you listen to Prince, he's just the biggest victim of all. Listen to what he had to say in this online-only clip from The Daily Show.
So you feel that the government actually actively turned against you and began to persecute you in some way?
Indeed. And you know, meeting with congressional staffs, meeting with these investigators, they said, look, it doesn't matter what you guys are going to do, we're going to ride you until you're out of business.
Maybe what he meant by out of business is total legal immunity, safe harbor in Abu Dhabi, hundreds of millions more in contracts, and no justice for countless dead Iraqis.